But I want to make it clear that I stand with Israel. I believe that Gaza should be flattened. I believe that Hamas should be annihilated. I'm not going to beat around. I'm not going to beat around the bush. Well, Carl, look at what Israelis do to Palestinians, guys. There's so much nonsense wrapped into that statement. It's hard for me to take people like that seriously. I went into Twitter Spaces again or X Spaces again just to listen, and it was absolutely insane. I want you to understand or ask yourself this question: who is the infidel? What is an infidel? What is the big Satan? What is little Satan? Because, guys, I want you to understand that they're coming for us next. They're coming for us next. The Biden administration are completely feckless and weak. You had the Abraham Accords that President Trump established with Middle Eastern nations, mainly Bahrain and, good Lord, United Arab Emirates. That grew with more Arab nations joining in later on. I mean, they were doing stuff together. They are doing things together, even learning medical technology from one another, so on, etc. It's absolutely insane. And then you have this guy named Joe Biden that comes into the White House. He becomes the president. Okay, all right. So there's a backstory to that. Anyway, but he's now president of the United States. God, I hate saying that. All right, but he's the president of the United States. He comes in. He does nothing. He does nothing to foster that relationship whatsoever. Now, recently, you have Biden that has, on the down low, tried to broker a deal, but with Saudi Arabia and with Israel, kind of a peace agreement between them. I'm not sure that that's working out. But let's be honest, man. These are things that you have to know. If you're going to get involved in this fight, if you're getting involved in some of these X spaces, you're going to have to know some of the language. And a lot of what these propagandists that I noticed that are popping up online, I mean, there are some massive spaces online of these propagandists that are popping up with journalists and all that are so sympathetic to the so-called quote-unquote Palestinian people. And it's a complete and utter fraud. One lady was so good and so effective, so brilliant, she was in the UK. And I listened to this lady, and all I could think, I literally was getting ready to leave somewhere, so I didn't have time to dive into the space. I saw some of my buddies on the space, but I just listened, and then I bounced, But I'm telling you, there is a threat that exists, and it's not J6 protesters. There are some BLM and Antifa people that you have to be careful of. Those commies will be ready to riot in a minute. But I'm telling you, there's still a threat of Islamic fascism. It still exists. Now, it exists in Israel. Israel got a horrible taste of it. But don't think for a second that it can't come here to the United States of America. Don't think that somehow we're immune, especially with this decrepit old man that is sitting in the White House right now. Don't think that it cannot come to our shores. As a matter of fact, I would beg to differ for those who think that it can. I would say that it's already here. We don't know who the hell has come into our country since this guy has been in office. We don't know. We're not keeping track of gotaways and all this kind of stuff. You think Biden is serious about building a border wall? He's not serious about building a border wall. 20 miles? What is 20 miles? What is 20 miles? It's a talking point. That's what it is. He has no intention to slow the threat of the invasion that's occurring on our southern border. So don't think for a second what Israel experienced, we can experience. I got to be honest, too. I did not realize that Israel had such strict gun control measures. Big mistake. It looks like that's going to change. And I don't say that to minimize or to upset. That's just there's no way. There's no way you can be surrounded by nations that hate you and you can't carry a firearm. I'm sorry. That was crazy. I knew they had gun restrictions. I didn't realize how strict they were. I just started reading up on them, obviously, over the weekend. But I got a message. I want to share this stuff with you. I'm going to give you some talking points to fight back. This idea that the reason why you saw Hamas attack Israel is because of Israelis' treatment Israeli treatment of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, it is a complete and it is an utter lie. Again, when you get into these spaces, when you get into this conversation with the left, you have to understand, if you just make it a geopolitical argument, if you just all logic, reason, because there's some really smart people in these spaces, I'm not going to lie, especially on the propaganda side, I am not going to lie, really smart people. There's a spiritual battle going on. A lot of people don't want to hear that. But honestly, if they're not talking about the spiritual battle, they don't know the half of the problem. The reason why what we see in the Middle East will not stop is because these Islamic jihadists see Israel as the little Satan. And guess what, guys? Guess who the big Satan is? Oh, can you say America? That is us. That's why even if you're not spiritual, even if you're not a religious person or a godly person, Christian, Jew, whatever, you better understand that there are people that are, and especially these Islamic fascists.